Bronny James has become one of the most talked about basketball players in the world, and not for good reason. He has been continually criticized by the media and fans for a while now. People believe that Bronny never really truly earned his spot in the NBA and that he's only in the league because of his dad, LeBron James. These accusations of nepotism, alongside the fact that he's really underperformed to a lot of people, has made him an easy target to go after. But after really looking into how all of this has gone down, I'm starting to realize how unfair Bronny's basketball career has been thus far. Obviously, he's lucky to be the son of one of the greatest NBA players ever, and to even be able to make the NBA is an honor, but compared to a lot of people his age and in his same draft class, Bronny has continued to get unfair treatment and criticism. The guy is only 20 years old and has the whole world watching his every move and dissecting every little part of his game. And it's been happening since he was a little kid. He was born in 2004, right after LeBron won Rookie of the Year, and it was reported that by the time he was a 10-year-old, he was already getting offers from colleges already. And his whole time at Sierra Canyon, he had the whole world watching and wondering how good he'd turn out. Obviously, the pressure of being the son of the most popular basketball player in the world is a lot to deal with, especially when LeBron said multiple times how his goal is to play in the NBA with his son. But Bronny still played pretty well with Sierra Canyon. He continually put up good stats and was making headlines very consistently, and at this point most people figured that he'd be a top 10 pick in the draft. So after high school, he ended up attending USC, deciding to play for the Trojans in college. The hype that Bronny had going into his college basketball career was crazy, and then the worst case scenario possible happened.
James' 18-year-old son Bronny is in the hospital this afternoon after going into cardiac arrest.
It happened when the star athlete was taking part in a basketball practice at USC.
During the summer of 2023, in the middle of a workout with USC, Bronny went into a cardiac arrest, which was a terrifying moment for him, considering how young he was at the time and just how scary the repercussions of this could have been. And it scared the world a lot as well. Thankfully, the staff at USC was able to literally save his life, but it left a lot of questions up in the air around his basketball career. After going through a health issue as extreme as that at such a young age, how do you really go further into an athletic career with the same confidence and ability? Most people saw this happen to Bronny and immediately wrote off any possibility of him making it to the NBA or even continuing with the Trojans. But it didn't stop him, and he made his collegiate debut only 5 months after this in December. It was amazing seeing Bronny come back from that and still able to play for his college team, and he looked pretty good. But unfortunately, this is really where a lot of the critiques started coming Bronny's way. Because while he was a pretty decent player, he wasn't great at all, and he wasn't even close to being the best player on his own team. His stat lines were not impressive at all, and nothing about him really made him stand out besides the fact that he was LeBron's kid. So if Bronny were to make it to the NBA, it wouldn't be because he was better than his peers, it'd be because of his family name. Obviously, he wasn't a terrible player, but the fact that teams were willing to draft Bronny simply because he's LeBron's son is when people started heavily criticizing Bronny for not being as good as he should be. For starters, while he had some of the skills, Bronny was only 6'1", so he didn't really get his father's height genetics at all. And it wasn't like he was a knockdown shooter or a lockdown defender, so his height was definitely a problem. And again, he just wasn't good enough to be an NBA player to a lot of people. But either way, he declared for the 2024 NBA draft and was selected in the second round by the same team that his father's on, the Los Angeles Lakers. And I think it's pretty clear that LeBron pulled a couple strings to make sure this happened. So not only did he get drafted when nobody thought he deserved it, he also got drafted to his dad's team, which gave it even more attention and more scrutiny. But at the same time, they were making history by being the first ever father-son duo in the league at the same time, and they were on the same team. Historic doesn't even begin to describe the magnitude of what they pulled off here. We really will never see anything else like this in our lifetimes. And the hype around their first game was unreal. Then once they actually got into their first game, it was crazy to see it actually happen. LeBron and his son both wearing Laker jerseys, playing on the same team. And while honestly Bronny didn't do very well, it was still a really cool moment. And after this is when people would really realize the caliber of player that Bronny is, which again led everybody to say how much nepotism went into Bronny getting this opportunity and how much he didn't deserve it. He continued trying to play for the Lakers, but he continued to fail over and over again, and eventually the Lakers would send him down to the G League, which honestly was a smart move by the Lakers for Bronny. The pressure of being on the big stage and developing that way is very difficult, especially for Bronny, so going down to the G League got rid of some of that crazy extra attention he had and gave him a chance to develop some more. And he's actually found a lot of success in the G League, just recently dropping 32 points in a game. He was getting crazy poster dunks on people, he was hitting shots, and it was a very impressive game. And I know a lot of people talk about the G League like it's not anything special, but the G League still has a lot of talent inside of it. So the fact that Bronny is looking this good against some close to NBA level competition is very impressive, especially considering he's a 6'1" 20-year-old. But honestly, after this performance, the thing that stuck with me most is what he said in the post-game interview.
I'm just trying to get my confidence back, that's all. I'm just trying to go out, play my game, learn from every game.
After dropping this 30-point game, he says in the interview how he's been trying to get his confidence back. And it really made me think of everything we put this guy through over the past 2 years for just trying to be a good basketball player. No matter how we got there, he's a young guy just trying to improve as a basketball player, and he has had more pressure on him to succeed than most of the top 10 picks from last year's draft. I mean, think about it. How many players from last year's draft class can you actually name besides Bronny? Most of the top picks from this draft aren't doing anything significant in the league at all right now. The number 1 pick from last year's draft is averaging 10 points a game right now. But the second is Bronny James, who gets the opportunity to be drafted, and he gets selected in the 2nd round, all of a sudden everybody's got a problem with it. Was Bronny being drafted a little bit of nepotism? Of course. But the people who are actually upset by this and claim that he was taking other people's jobs who actually deserved it is a little ridiculous. I mean, just look at the guy drafted right before Bronny, Anton Watson, who's 4 years older than Bronny is. He only played 3 games, went scoreless in his first 2, had 4 points in his 3rd game, and since then, he's been in the G League. Bronny has had more success in the NBA than the guy drafted above him who supposedly earned it more and actually deserved it, and he's performing better in the G League than a lot of players who were probably drafted higher above him. I'm not saying Bronny's gonna be some generational talent that's gonna be an all-star someday, but to act like he's nowhere close to being good enough to play for the Lakers G League team is insane. Plus, Bronny could still get a lot better. He really didn't get the college experience he should have since he only played 1 year and it was cut short because of his cardiac arrest. A lot of these guys are spending 4 years in college refining their skills before they make it to the league, and Bronny got sit right in on the same team with LeBron James, which is because of the opportunity to play with his dad, but also he just didn't really get a chance to develop correctly before going straight to the NBA. And instead of people just recognizing how cool it is that one of, if not the greatest NBA player of all time, got to share the court on the same team with his son in the NBA, everybody turned it into a problem. Again, this is something we will never see again. The odds of this happening are crazy, and even if it does happen again with another father-son duo on the same team, it won't be like this because it's LeBron James. And thinking from Bronny's perspective throughout all of this, again, all he's really tried to do is be a good basketball player, and he happened to get better opportunities than a lot of his peers. But his peers also didn't have to go through the pressure that Bronny's gone through. He had more attention on him than everybody else in the draft class as a 2nd round pick. I know people are going to say how lucky Bronny is to get in the spot that he's at, but I really feel like every step of the way during his basketball career, he's gotten unlucky. From going through a cardiac arrest at 18 years old, right before you start playing college basketball, to the whole world watching your every move and comparing you to your dad, who just so happens to be LeBron James. And it's not even like Bronny has to play basketball. He's really just doing it to make a name for himself, and he's done better than a lot of basketball players will ever do. Overall, I'm just saying, I wouldn't go too hard on Bronny just because the guy's still 20 years old, and he's had a pretty hectic start to his career. The pressure he's dealt with is unlike any other player in NBA history, and I really do feel like he's dealt with it well. There's still a chance that he develops in the G League and actually turned out to be a solid role player for an NBA team, which would still be very impressive. But either way, it was amazing watching LeBron actually play with his son, and to see both of them really make history, and to see him doing this well in the G League, and to actually get his confidence back.
Speaking of that confidence, it's so good to see you smiling. I know the spotlight you live under is so bright. Are you having fun?
I am having fun. I'm having fun. Anytime I'm playing basketball, anytime I'm out here breathing, anytime I'm out here walking, I'm having fun, and I'm grateful, and I'm just down to earth. I'm grateful for everything that's given to me.